there's rumors going around that Tangerine's been, maybe undoing some barriers. Something's been fishy, something's going on that's a little fishy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're rolling at you live. We are back after a week hiatus. We've kind of been a little on and off here, but we have a lot to get to for weeks 4 and 5 here.
Certainly a lot. Week 4 and 5, our fair share of content, a lot to get into.
Yeah.
So let's dive right in, because this pod could be 2 hours.
Yeah,
if we make it, but let's dive right into week 4.
It certainly could be 2 hours long. I think where we should start is just, can the Crazy Cat be caught? What we've seen out of them so far through this whole entire tournament, especially this week, last week, it looks like they're in a completely different field than the rest of these racers.
I mean, the answer to your question is no.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could provide me some data or any examples of how they can be caught.
Yeah.
Red Eye looks dominant. Crazy Cat's Eyes look dominant. There's no looking back, and we're going to go into the point differential.
Right.
It's something I don't think we've seen in Marbula 1 for a long, long time.
I don't think so either. I mean, Savage Speeders definitely have had points of dominance in their tenure, but no, certainly not something that is a normal occurrence. This dominance is unprecedented,
especially through 5 weeks. I mean,
yeah.
we both said it. We're halfway through this thing,
right?
And we already have a 30-point lead. So a little scary, but at the same time, 5 weeks to catch them.
Right. So it's been 5 weeks. They've put this up through 5 weeks. Doesn't mean someone else can't come out of the woodworks and do the same.
Correct. You never know in this event. So we'll see.
Yeah. So we'll get into more of them later. We'll talk more about positioning in week 4, week 5, and that's the wild thing is based on what's happened with the track in the last couple of weeks. Crazy Cat's Eyes could be further ahead because Yellow Eye kind of got tripped up here on that week 4 track reset.
Correct. I mean, if we're going into that, there's a lot of unpacking to do.
Yeah, let's just say before we even get into it, there's been a couple of wild happenings here in week 5 and week 4. Week 4, we saw the safety mirror on the track get dislodged. Week 5, we saw the Thunderbolts get lodged off track. There's been a couple of weird happenings. Is there some question about infrastructure that you're having with the JMR setup? Because we're seeing the security and safety marbles be put to work.
Not at all. I think let's go to week 4 because obviously we have a lot to cover.
Let's do it.
Reading the comments, seeing all the views, seeing all the all the chatter going on in the JMR world. There seems to be a thought that some tampering's going on, and this is where I kind of want to ask you the question.
I think I saw something about this.
There's rumors going around that Tangerine's been maybe undoing some barriers. Something's been fishy. Something's going on that's a little fishy. And Mellow Yellow fans everywhere have been screaming about this, along with other fans.
Of course they have, because that's what they do. The Mellow Yellow fans like to complain.
But as I finish, the O-Rangers suddenly appeared to spaceship into 8th place or 7th place in that week 4. Just didn't seem to make sense after almost basically getting lapped.
We did get lapped. So we got lapped.
As a representation to all the Ranger fans, how do you defend this? Where do you go from here?
I guess let's just break it down what happened first. So what happened was the O-Rangers got caught up on an obstacle, ended up getting dislodged on the next lap, so they were a full lap behind everybody else. Conveniently, the safety barrier gets dislodged, and so therefore all the marbles have to stop and regather, and the O-Rangers are then back and unlapped. So they are in the last position, but they don't have to make up a full lap on the rest of the field, which would have been certain death if they had to 100%. Do that. So to address what you're alleging that my team has done, those are some seriously wild remarks. If that is the case, then it's not the case. Let me tell you that right now. But to accuse a team of doing such a thing is just utter blasphemy, and it's honestly just the most disrespectful thing that you can do to a franchise. Tangerine has nothing to do with this. He was absolutely spotted nowhere near the safety barrier. This is all just teams trying to come at the O-Rangers, who are some of the greatest athletes in the circuit.
Again, I hear what you're saying. I speak for myself and the people here. It's just, after we saw this race, no word from the O-Rangers camp, no press conference after.
Yep.
Oddly quiet for a Marbula 1 event to not be at the the press conference there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions unanswered. I don't want to point the finger directly and say the Rangers were at fault, but I think me and a lot of the people out there, especially Mellow Yellow fans, need some answers.
So it seems like you are projecting onto Mellow Yellow fans when you maybe as the Limer camp have some of your own questions.
I mean,
listen,
for the marbles.
We'll see if hopefully an investigation is launched so the Tangerine and the Rangers names can be cleared, because that's what I think everyone probably wants.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. But I wouldn't put it past the fruit circuit teams of Limers and Mellow Yellow to come out with these just unbelievable claims. But no, you're not wrong to not see a press conference after that. And especially with these rumors swirling, I imagine the PR team over in the Rangers camp is probably putting together exactly what they need to put together.
I mean, listen, they're working overtime. That's for sure.
They're working overtime?
They're working overtime. They're working on the weekend.
Well, you know, we'll keep you updated on this storyline, because it's going to be thrilling going forward to see what comes of this.
True. And on the contrary, too, like, as another fan of another race team, like, you're going to use this as an excuse, and I understand fans are going to do that.
Yeah.
So, obviously, at the end of the day, it's not a good situation for the Rangers. It's obviously they placed well. They're happy with that, but it's kind of a lose-lose for them. If they didn't perform well, then they're unhappy they didn't perform well.
Right.
If they perform well, then everyone's accusing them of doing something ridiculous. So it's a tough situation for Clementon to be in, but we find ourselves here.
To come out with a 7th place finish after being a full lap behind everyone else, that is going to raise some flags. I can understand that. But we were talking off air. So we were dead to rights. There was no chance that the Rangers had any chance of coming back in the race. They get the red flag. There's a restart in the race. You have to give them some credit for coming back and performing the way they did after that restart.
We both agreed, and I'll say this too, because obviously I'm on the attack here of the Rangers.
Right.
After that restart, again, say what you want about where he restarted, but he had a heck of a race coming back on that second half.
Heck of a race.
I mean, he was the speed was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even if it's unfair that he started where he started, he probably jumped about 10 spots.
Yeah.
In 5 laps. I mean, what lap was that reset? 11?
11, yeah.
So, I mean, he did some serious racing there. That's all credit to him. Is it fair? I mean, that's up for interpretation. So,
yeah,
we'll move on with that.
We'll move on. Let's talk about the rest of this, who this stoppage may have impacted, the rest of week 4 in general. Obviously, we're on week 5 right now, so we'll do most of the podcast on that. It's just this was too important not to bring up.
Absolutely.
So now you got me thinking, like, how else could that barrier have been just mysteriously flapping in the wind? Did you see it too? It was like flapping.
Very weird. At the end of the finish line there too.
No further comment until we see what happens coming out of the camp.
No press conference either.
No camera. Yeah, well, I'll hold the press conference for him. That content might be coming out midweek.
PR team for the Rangers better be working.
Okay. Stoppage in 11th. It messed up a lot of stuff. People were also talking in the comments. Yellow Eye. He had a big lead. They had a big lead. With 11 laps with about 5 to go, and that stoppage obviously brought them back to the whole pack, and they ended up coming out in 8th place,
right behind the Rangers. Isn't that sweet bliss? Much to their chagrin.
They came in 10th. Yellow Eye in 10th place.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Still. Yeah. So that's a tough result for them.
Yeah.
After being where they were going into that stoppage. That's what we touched on at the beginning of the show too, is that they could be much further up this table. So, like, they have a gripe as well with the Rangers or with whoever dislodged that safety barrier.
Absolutely, and correction too, because I always do this. Yellow Eye is crazy cat's eyes. Mellow Yellow is Mellow Yellow.
Yes,
it's a little confusing. So
it is.
I apologize for that.
No, certainly. But, it also looks like the exact same Marbula.
It's a little tough. So apologies for that, but it's frustrating. I mean, for those fans, it's got to be frustrating. At the same time, though, you're resetting again. It's not fair, but you didn't race up to what you could race, and you lost points.
Right.
And you got to look at yourself in the mirror for that.
It's an unfortunate thing, I think, when these stoppages happen, because it largely benefits the team that's in last, as it did the Rangers, and it largely impacts the team that was in first. I don't know if Yellow Eye was in first, but they were top of the lead.
I believe they were. I can look back.
Yeah.
I believe at the 11th lap, I'm going to go right to it.
I think you're right, but
Yellow Eye was number 1.
That's insane.
Number 1.
To put all that work in
10 spots.
But is there any alternative you concede for having a stoppage? You kind of have to fix the track. I mean, there was a whole panel flapping around in the wind that could have done serious damage to these marbles, which is something that might be a little bit of a worrisome thing going forward anyway.
It's hard to hear from an Rangers fan, but you're right at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do. I don't know if you space the marbles out more. Again,
right?
That's very difficult to do. It's just hard to hear from a fan with that T-shirt on.
Yeah. So, I mean, anything else you want to talk about the stoppage? I think in general this will be a good segue into week 5 because we saw the Thunderbolts. Who was racing for the Thunderbolts? Any idea? Who was racing for them? No worries.
Would have been Shock.
Could it have been Shock?
Yes.
Bolt. No, Bolt.
No, race 4 was Shock.
Race 5.
Are we on race 4?
Hey,
too many races.
Either way, Bolt or Shock going into that mid-race turn. First of all, they had been looking good all race. Shock they were flirting with the top 3. It's their season. They were looking to turn it around here at the midpoint. It would have been great momentum for them going forward. They go a little bit too hard into a turn, collide with Mellow Yellow Bumblebees or someone like that, end up getting launched off the track. So that's back-to-back weeks that we've seen a marble either get stuck, an obstruction in the track, marble flying off the track altogether. We've seen, I mean, we love our safety medical staff. We've been seeing far too much of them.
I agree, but at the same time, and I thought about this too, especially after week 5 when we saw Bolt go into the brush there.
Yeah.
Is this supposed to happen this much? Because if you think about it, these racers are flying around this track.
You're right.
So, like you said, I don't want to really be seeing a lot of the medical staff, but at the same time, these guys are going at high speeds.
Yeah.
Was it a barrier issue? Was it just a wrong turn? I don't know, but these guys have been flying, and especially in week 5, we saw that, especially with the qualifiers. I don't want to say I was surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From the speed, he was flying, and he was having a great race halfway through.
Yeah, I think maybe we've just been lucky through the first 3 weeks to not really have seen any issues. And now that they're popping up, we're a little bit alarmed, but it's actually, you're right. I think it might just be the standard of Marbula 1. This is the peak of speed in sports.
It is. It's the game of speed.
Yeah.
So, terrible if you're a Thunderbirds fan.
Terrible stuff. I mean,
what else did you see from this race?
I wanted to give one send off to, was it Bolt or Shock here?
It was Bolt.
So it was Bolt that flew out of the track. It was really just a microcosm for their season. It's just not going well. They find themselves in 19th out of 20. A team that we had such high hopes for. I think a lot of analysts had a lot of high hopes for going into this season. So to see Bolt getting carried off on the stretcher with a towel over his head, maybe to hide emotions from the rest of the crowd.
That was tough.
It was just tough to see. They were looking to get their season back on track, looking to make it happen, and it looks like right now that they are dead. They have no chance of even coming close to winning this whole thing.
I would agree.
Yeah,
really tough to see,
especially if Bolt is injured.
Man, obviously you don't root for that.
No, never.
But just I don't see a way out at this point.
No, I don't think so. And I mean, speaking of, should we hop into week 5 now? Because
let's hop into week 5. I have a lot to say. As you can tell, I'm very eager.
I think we both have a lot to say. Do you want to start with? If you have something to start with, let's start there.
No, I mean, again, I don't want to do this, but I have to just because it's probably they're top of the leaderboard. So I have to. I just want to give the flowers to the Crazy Cat's Eyes.
Yeah, do it.
And we did it at the beginning of the podcast. What they're doing is, I would argue, it's historical. It's something we've never seen before.
Yeah. And
their dominance needs to be studied. If you're watching these races like we are, I mean, Red Eye, is there even a race going on for him? Is he just, I'm ahead and I'm just going to finish?
Well, I think that's a great point that you make, because it seems like once he gets ahead of the pack, he doesn't have to contend with all these bumps and bruises that the rest of the racers are going through.
We don't even see him half the time in the shot.
We don't. It's kind of sad, because I'd love to just kind of have a one camera on Red Eye and Yellow Eye just to see what they're doing.
3 seconds ahead of the pack.
It's unbelievable stuff.
What we're witnessing is actually very groundbreaking, I think, for JMR and all. And I just think we need to give him their flowers. I mean, it's just
we'll give them their flowers.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
It's mesmerizing.
It is truly. I mean, 2 gold medals in this event already through 5 weeks, and another 2 top 5 finishes amongst another top 10 finish. They haven't even seen what the back half of the race looks like. They haven't even seen Team Galactic this entire time. Team Galactic and them are on a different planet.
They have 85 more points than Team Galactic.
85 more points. That's great stat. Nice pull there.
That's insane.
That is insane.
That's insane. But go ahead. What was your
No, I think at this point in the race, so we're halfway through the season, so it's a really good time to take a look back,
Sure.
evaluate what's happened through half the season, and I think there's a lot of teams that we can almost eliminate on here. There's probably 5 or 6 teams that we can like dang near write off. I especially wanted to talk about Balls of Chaos. I was wrong. I had them in my top 10 last week. I think I had them in number 8 because they were showing some improvement, but they go back to back week 4, week 5, 0-point finishes. It looks like Balls of Chaos was destined to just be bad as they've always have been.
I mean, tough argument to make that they're coming back.
I thought it was their coming out party.
Just back to back. On that similar story, being a team primary podcast, I don't even know how we phrase this. It's just
it's on you. You deemed them back last week, and look where they are now.
It's just they could not be farther from back.
Yeah.
4 0-point finishes in 5 races. Their only other finish was a bronze medal, which is when I jumped on the train.
Yep.
That train got derailed real quick. I think it was this the race, and again, I believe it was, where Eric finished about 10 to 15 seconds behind everyone else at the end.
When
Greg made a comment.
Great, yeah.
Oh, man. That not only was it sad to see, but it had to be so embarrassing for that team primary team.
It was. I mean, the fact that Greg called it out didn't really help because all the racers had finished for what seemed like 3 or 4 seconds, and then they cut to team primary, still coming around the final third sector of the track.
He was like halfway down the track.
Halfway down the track, and Greg's just like, oh boy, this is embarrassing for team primary, and it really is. It's a horrible campaign. Any idea what's going on here? Is it a lack of motivation?
The only thing we can point to is just fatigue from Survivor 100.
Right, they did go have a deep run.
Arup, I don't know. We're a team primary podcast, so I don't want to say anything bad about the team, but just not there. I don't know if they need a hiatus. They need something to get back on track, but the important thing for them is they don't want to make this a trend. Going into different events here, Marbula one's going to be finished soon. We're halfway done. We don't want this to become a habit.
You don't want to be stumbling into Marble League, the Marble Olympics,
absolutely
like this,
not.
Limping into the most important event of the year. So
because you could find yourself relegated at this. I mean, this has been tough to watch.
You could find your team disbanded.
It's sad.
It's not inspiring. It's not what this JMR is all about. So yeah, I think that's enough rag on team primary for now. Hopefully they can come out and just make a marble of themselves for this last half of the season.
I like it.
Anyone else you want to touch on? In the meantime, we are going to get to our top 10 picks. We heard you guys in the comments that you liked when we had our different top 10 picks and had a little discourse going back and forth. So we'll keep doing that. But is there anything you wanted to talk about in general? Let's talk about like some position changes potentially from the week 5 race.
Sure. I mean,
because there was some position changes. I guess. I mean, you go ahead because Savage Speeders is one team that I wanted to touch on.
No, that's a good one. But I'll leave that to you. One team I've been cheering for, and I kind of made it clear in the last podcast, is those Green Ducks.
Yeah.
Mallard, he rose 4 points, 4 positions, but at the same time, he found himself at like 11, 10, the 9th spot. Somehow ended up in 4th by the end of the race. Pretty happy with that. If you're a Green Ducks fan, I think he's been performing well. He's hanging around. I just see him hanging around enough to get it done here. And we'll get into our top 10. I just think the Green Ducks have what it takes to go the long way. And I think, hopefully, if anyone's going to challenge the Crazy Cat's Eyes, it could be them.
You want to let's take a pause real quick because it looks like we have an audio issue.
Sure.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. So we had a little. Oh, you're good. We're back. We had a slight dilemma there. Don't worry about it. We're just going to continue onwards. We were talking about who we're talking about. Green Ducks. Yes, Green Ducks. It's almost like they're the only team that can hold a candle to the Crazy Cat's Eyes right now. So seeing them succeed has been really nice to see, and it's easy team to root for.
Absolutely, I think Green Ducks is one of my favorite teams. Looking at in the future here. It's just hard to believe. I think they're one of them, but it's hard to believe anyone's going to challenge the Crazy Cat's Eyes.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I know they're in second place, but Green Ducks is my team.
Yeah, and I mean, 22 points back is not completely insurmountable. We talked about how amazing Crazy Cat's Eyes has been so far this season, but 22 points can be.
That's 1 week.
It's 1 week. You're right. I think we might have just clicked that at the same time.
Yeah. Red Eye flies off into the brush and the brush.
Way things are going.
Tangerine is undoing some places. Tangerine, if you're watching.
it might be time.
Do it.
It's like Happy Gilmore when the guy just comes out and runs over Happy Gilmore with his car. We might need Tangerine to just fly out
I
of the
mean,
stands and blast
I
Crazy
know it.
Cat's Eyes.
I know he's watching this, so we'll see.
Tangerine, wink, wink.
Help us.
Yeah, Snowballs, a team trending in the wrong direction over the last couple weeks. We were loving them. They were the clear number 2, even the number 1 earlier on in this tournament. But to see them drop 11-3-6 the last 3 weeks, heading in the wrong direction, looking like they're slipping out of that first tier, and Green Ducks is taking their spot.
Agreed. I think I'm eager to get into this top 10.
Yeah.
So I know we're talking about a couple teams here. I think from week 5. Do you want to talk about the track a little bit? Because we both had comments on the track.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the track before we get into our top 10s. You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Think, I'll be blatantly honest. I think we both agree with this. A little upsetting. I don't want to say it's a bad track, but at the same time, I think we're just spoiled.
It was slow.
I just think it was a little slow. It wasn't my favorite.
It was slow. It was
honest.
Clogged.
Yeah.
I didn't think it showed the premier speed of the racers. Obviously, Crazy Cat's Eyes still dominated it because that's what they do. But just amongst the rest of the racers, it wasn't too fun to watch. We didn't see those position changes that we saw in the last couple weeks.
Correct. I mean, the only highlight I saw to the track is that speed turn.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. But the beginning kind of was just slow, and then the ending was really slow in my opinion.
Yeah.
So again, not a critique. Just you can't have a winner track every week,
right?
So I guarantee JMR is going to come up with a banger next week.
Absolutely.
So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. And I think just as far as music goes, that was just I liked it at first, and then I didn't like it.
Really?
It was peaceful, but it was too peaceful. I'm looking to get fired up when I'm seeing marbles go.
Blame those pinkies
at their top speed.
Blame those pinkies.
I will blame those pinkies.
That's their
I will.
Although
I like some things about what the pinkies are doing. But should we hop into our top 10?
Let's hop in.
All right. Always love doing this. This is also the mid-season top 10. So basically everything that we've seen from the first half of the season and going forward, how we think things are gonna keep going. So we're gonna hop into that right now. We'll also give you, now that we're halfway through the season, we're gonna give you some awards. Who we think is gonna take this thing home at the end? Gold, bronze, silver.
I like
all that.
I like it. Sorry, I'm adjusting my list.
No, you're good.
I deleted.
I don't even know if we need to read off number 1.
Oh, I was gonna go 10. You want to go 10 to 1? I kind of like 10 to 1, to be honest.
I just think that it's so much more obvious who the top 5 are than the 6 through 10 are. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So that might be more entertaining for the viewers.
It's a little
Mine
crazy.
Is crazy too.
All right, let's go 1.
Okay.
Let's go 1.
Yeah,
we can both agree.
Yeah.
Yellow Eye, Red Eye,
Crazy Cat's Eyes. Yeah, that was nice.
That was good.
Yeah, it's not particularly close. I don't even know if we need to glaze them any longer. Crazy Cat's Eyes is the best team in this championship. It would take a lot for them to not win it at this point.
For sure. I think much to our chagrin.
Yeah.
Pretty impressed by how they've been racing. But obviously we want a little bit tighter, and this race, a couple of races now have been just dominated by the
I would love to see a little bit more competition, which is I think what I'd like to see out of this number 2 team, the Green Ducks. For me, at least. For me, my number 2 is the Green Ducks. How do you see it that way as well? I'm assuming you do because you were just giving them a lot of props.
I don't. I was glazing the Green Ducks, but I'm going to go to the Hazers here.
Okay.
Cloudy has been performing well. I think he didn't finish as high as he should have.
Yeah.
I think came up a little bit short. They're right around that
third place finish.
3. I know, but just at times I thought he was right there, like competing with Yellow Eye, Red Eye.
He was kind of like the main character in this race.
Red Eye in this week.
Yeah.
But I put the Hazers there. I think it's interchangeable, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. I mean, and we can go to number 3 because I think you probably have the Green Ducks. I have the Hazers at 3. So I think neither of us are that dead set on those being 2 and 3. We could probably be flip flopped. I just think with the Hazers, I don't know. I have seen them be in competing for a lot of these races. I'd like to see them get to that gold or silver spot.
Agreed. I mean, we're looking at their finishes here. It's a 3rd place finish in week 5, which great to see. But kind of like a little bit mid.
Yeah.
If you want to call it mid.
Yeah.
Through the first 4 weeks. Something we're looking for, as Russ said.
Getting on the podium inspires confidence, and it shows us. I'd like to see them get a silver or a bronze, a gold or a silver before I put them above the Green Ducks.
Especially on a bad week for Red Eye or Yellow Eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take 4.
All right, I'll start with 4. Let's see if we agree on this one. I mean, I got the Snowballs, a team that definitely has fallen from grace since their electric hot start, but I don't know. It's hard to drop them all the way down past 4 just after what they've done so far.
I differentiated here.
Oh, wow.
And this is going to be painful to say.
Okay. You know what's here? Can I just preface this?
Yes.
Since it's going to be a little confusing who has what in their top 10, I'll make a little visual for on each sides of us.
Sure.
That will have your top 10 and my top 10 so people can trickle on YouTube at least.
So if you're a fan of the podcast, if you're a fan of the podcast, you know my hate for this team, you know the beef. It could just be I'm terrified of this team and I know what they're capable of.
I think it is.
And
I think I know who it is.
It's the Oceanics.
Yep.
At number 4. I saw them in week 4 have a first place finish, terrified the heck out of me.
Yeah.
And I could not be more afraid. And I know their finish in week 5 wasn't ideal. I still fear them. And I think everyone in this race, in this competition, should fear them. So that's I'm judging off of fear here.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong.
Well, this is your classic games. You like to do the reverse psychology with your least favorite teams. And listen, I love what Oceanics has done in these last couple of weeks. They've looked really good, and I do have them on this list. No spoilers. But I think to put them where you just put them is pretty insane. The Snowballs they have almost 20 more points than them in the standings. So to switch them is crazy. We need to see a little bit worse from Snowballs to put them below the Oceanics, I think.
Well, listen, with this list, and again, we both have differentiating lists. We're looking for the future.
Absolutely.
Top 10 could just be 1 through 10 of the standings, right? And that obviously wouldn't.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what we're doing. But at the same time, I'm betting on the future. Just like I bet on Team Primary was absolutely wrong. Right now, I'm betting on the Oceanics because I do think they have a podium in them for the week 6 or week 7.
100%. I mean, we just saw them put up a gold medal in week 4, so that's. I mean, you're right, and they have a gold medal. The Snowballs do not. So if there's something to hang your hat on.
Get on that podium.
In the 5s. Oh, sorry.
I'll follow up just because Snowballs is not number 5.
Okay,
so
nice.
You had them 4, I had them 5.
Yeah,
go with your number 5.
My number 5 is going to be the Pinkies, a team that I was looking forward to talking about on this podcast. A team that has seriously improved. A team that, aside from week 1, has points in every other week. They have a bronze medal, and you're looking at me a little funny, but when you look at these teams 5 through basically 12, there's only 4 to 5 points separating all of them. So there's really you kind of have to pick your poison. You got to pick who you like the way they've looked. I'm a little bit afraid of this Pinkies pick because they did just race at their home track in the Sakura Gardens and put up 7 points. That's not an amazing finish. I'm sorry, they put up 10 points. So that's a solid result. But I'm just liking the way they're trending, and they're a team that just always is around. They're always around, and I think they will be.
So again, to your point, this, what are we at, 6 through 12 is pretty much right next to each other.
Right.
I mean, we're going to have different lists here. I didn't even have the Pinkies in my top 10. And the reason I say that, and the reason I put it there, they raced at their own track. They didn't impress me.
Yeah.
They had one good finish where obviously they podiumed. Great. 3rd place.
Yeah.
I did not notice them at all in the first 3 weeks. I don't really have confidence in them. And to be honest, I don't really like them that much. I just don't.
Okay.
So I don't like the way they race. I just, at their home track, and we said it a couple of weeks ago about the Green Ducks, their success, obviously we gave them their flowers. We were happy with their success, but they were at their home track.
Yeah.
Right? The Pinkies.
You were talking about the Cobalts.
Green Ducks a couple of weeks ago, I believe.
Green Ducks, they were at the O Raceway, which they love.
Oh, the O Raceway.
Yeah, but no, you're right. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
sorry.
But even the Pinkies, they don't, stand out for me. And I don't think they're going to, at the end of this, I don't think they're going to be in the top 10. Okay. And that's why I put them outside of my top 10.
That's absolutely a fair assumption, and that's what this top 10's about.
So,
who's your 6th spot?
My number 6.
Now I'm getting a little even confused about where we're at.
I know, it's a little confusing.
But it's fine. It'll make sense in the video.
A team that was a little disappointing. We both kind of loved them, last podcast, but the Cobalts at number 6, obviously very disappointing. Very disappointing. I'm pulling up the results right now, but they did not finish well. 0 points in week 5. Can't seem to find where they finished, but obviously not very good.
Well, they got 6. Oh, yeah, 0. Nice pick here, Ship. Nice job.
Yeah, tough. But 2nd place finish in week 4. I just have confidence in them. One bad week ain't gonna knock them down the list.
I find that pick pretty insane, but that's okay. They're not on my top 10 list because I hate the Cobalts, and I think they'll be nowhere near the top 10 by the time this thing is over. The only good result they had was at the Electron Expressway, which is their home course. Everything else, very, very average.
We'll catch you on week 6 then.
Yeah, you'll catch me on week 6, and we'll have another talk then.
My new team, Cobalts.
we'll see how that works out for him. My sixth spot, I got the Bumblebees. Currently in 12th place, you might be like, oh, that's insane. Oh, again, only 5 places behind 5th place, so it's not like they're out in a crazy world. And the improvement I've seen is amazing. Obviously, starting with 0 in week 1 is not great, but 9-1 and then 15-12, getting those back-to-back top 7 finishes is promising for them.
Agreed.
And like the Pinkies, a team that I don't know is usually around.
Sure. Go with number 7.
Yeah. Mine?
Sure. Yeah. Go.
Oceanics. You talked about them. I do think they deserve to be up here. They have that gold medal. That's pretty impressive. Aside from that gold medal, haven't seen enough to put them any higher than the 7th spot.
All right. For me, Raspberry Racers at number 7.
Okay.
A little discouraging as of late.
Definitely.
First place finish in week 1. Yeah. Looking really strong. Been kind of hanging around, but obviously the scores haven't been there. This could be, if they come up with a week 6 bad performance, this could be the last week we have them in the top 10. I'm losing faith quickly. I think this was kind of a gift for me to put them at 7. I haven't heard their name from you yet, so yeah. I understand that. This is a little bit of a gift for me. I think if they come up with a 0, 2, or 4 here, they're out of the top 10 for me.
It's like a loser leaves town next week here for them. If they have a dud performance, I'm ready to write them off from this entire competition.
Agreed. I don't know if I go that far, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting there. Number 8.
What do you got?
Take number 8. I have Mellow Yellow.
Okay.
I've liked the way they raced.
The only marble, I believe, except for the top 4 racers, that does no zeros on the board.
Correct, which is promising. Honestly, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
The reason why, I just like the progression.
Yeah.
Had a great first week, podium finish, bit of a low in week 2, coming up the ladder. I see their name a lot in that top 10 leaderboard.
Yeah.
I noticed them, and again, we go back to the Pinkies. I just don't they're hanging around in week 5, but I don't see them. Mellow Yellow is a team I see hanging around, and I see them being in the top 10.
I like it. To number 9, or no, my number 8?
You're number 8.
Yeah, Team Momo. Has been a strange campaign for them. Two second place finishes, and other than that, have pretty much done virtually nothing. So scared, but a team that I've just seen around, and that might be why I'm always attracted to their marble. Well, yeah.
Pause.
Yeah, pause. But just a team that I think, like Raspberry Racers in race 6, that'll either propel them up or down this top 10 ranking for me. They're a volatile team right now.
I agree. I'm going to go with the Bumblebees at 9. I'll go back to Momo because they're my number 10.
Yeah.
Bumblebees at 9. You kind of said it. I had Bumblebees at 9, Momo at 10. The reason why I had Momo at 10, and if you look at the standings, they're at 7. Russ just kind of went into it. At their home course, week 4, I believe, right? Motorway.
Yes.
It concerns me. Anytime you don't perform well at your home course,
yeah,
and then follow up the week after with a bottom 5 finish, right? Bottom 10 finish.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned. Great start to the competition, first 3 weeks. A little bit of a lull. We'll see. I think week 6 will be very telling for Momo.
I would agree, and I think we're kind of on the same page. So I had Momo 8, and I have Raspberry Racers 9, who you just covered on. I think these are the 2 teams that next week is going to tell us a lot. If they perform well, that could shoot them up the rankings for me because they have done well in weeks past. If they do bad, it's like I can't trust them anymore. So.
Agreed. And I think, like you said, Momo and Raspberry Racers could be out if they perform poorly. I think another team, Russ had them in their top 10, his top 10. The Pinkies and the Savage Speeders are teams that could jump.
Can we stop for a second?
And get in that top 10.
All right. Sorry, had a little break up there. Should we jump into our number 10s?
Sure. Number 10. So
I can't help but notice the old Rangers haven't been said by you yet.
Oh, very weird. I don't think they've said by you either.
Yeah, well, I'm about to right now.
You sure Tangerine hasn't screwed with your list a little bit? I would love to bring you on the pod, Tangerine.
Yeah, Tangerine, if you want to clear your name, come out on the podcast.
Yeah. Release a statement, please.
Absolutely.
My number 10, Momo. And I'll tell you why really quickly here. They're a team that has been in a little bit of a lull. Week 4 at their home course, Mo Motorway. Say that 5 times fast. Just been a little bit of lull. Had a great first 3 weeks. A little bit disappointing. as you said before, they remind me of the Raspberry Racers.
Yeah.
Tell the fans why, because they worry me.
Yeah. Momo.
Momo
Yeah.
and Raspberry Racers.
I mean, it's just the zeros that we're seeing, the complete roller coaster of weeks, especially with Momo, the 22, 20, 0, 2. That can't happen. Raspberry Racers have done really not anything good aside from their first place finish in week 1. So I'm just worried about them being consistent enough to challenge these top 3 teams like Crazy Cat's Eyes, Green Ducks, and even Snowballs at this point.
Sure. And give us your number 10.
My number 10 is going to be the O'Rangers. Call me a homer. I mean, they are sitting in the 9 spot, right in the thick of this whole thick pile of marbles.
A barrier.
Yeah.
Tangerine's undoing.
so we're going to need to have Tangerine on so we can clear his name, because I can't be living with these jokes all the rest of the season.
I would love Greg to interview him too.
Another thing about the O'Rangers, the most fastest laps in the Marbula 1 so far. So
I think if you're an O'Rangers fan, you can answer me, because I have one sitting right next to me. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because where you're at, it's probably very frustrating.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's very promising.
Yeah.
So what's your thought about that?
I mean, I think if you get the fast, Team Galactic has a fastest lap down there, and literally has 5 points in the whole system. I think we did think that fastest lap meant a lot early on in the season. It's become very apparent that it means absolutely nothing. Because even if you're in last place and you have one fast lap that brings you up to 15th, doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. O'Rangers, they put up decent numbers. They have 1-0. Other than that, they have an 8, 19, 9, and 6. That's pretty solid. So I think they're also kind of in the boat with that Momo Raspberry Racers and the rest of the field. Like, you got to show me something next week. You got to show me that you want to be a top 5 marble.
Absolutely. And to finish, and you said it before, so I'm not going to steal your thunder, but it's not Thunderbolts. I don't want to steal your thunder on your racer, but for me, we talked about it. The Pinkies are a team that could get into that top 10.
Yep.
They've been promising.
Okay.
Obviously, Russ put them in his top 10. They were right outside of my top 10. I think they can get there. A week 6 performance could be very good for them, and I think it'll propel them into that top 10. For you, there was a racer that I think you loved and stood out for you that could be climbing up the leaderboards here. Week 9, week 10, could we see him hanging around that top 5?
Who are we talking about?
You know who I'm talking about.
I don't know that I do.
We're talking about those Savage Speeders.
Oh, the Savage Speeders.
We're talking about those Savage Speeders. We have to talk about them.
Okay. I wasn't sure where you were going, but absolutely we should talk about them. Last year's champion.
You were talking about them during the race.
Yeah. Last year's champion in M1 staple, the best franchise of all time, came out with a silver medal today. It looked like they wanted to dethrone Crazy Cat's Eyes. They said, it's time to wake up.
Don't sleep.
Don't sleep. Wake up on us, because they hopped up 5 spots in the standings. Look for them to continue to rise. Absolutely.
Now, the question is, I believe it's Crazy Cat's Eyes race competition to blow.
Oh, 100%.
So if we see a couple zeros in the next 5 weeks, could Savage Speeders or another team climb and take the lead there? I don't know.
No, it absolutely could happen. And I mean, Savage Speeders are sitting here with 29 points, and we're talking about them potentially catching a team 61 points ahead of them in the Crazy Cat's Eyes.
It's crazy, right?
It is Crazy Cat's Eyes. It's nuts to even think that could be possible. It probably isn't, but if anyone can do it, it's Savage Speeders.
It's not nuts. It's Cobalts.
All right. You want to end on something like that?
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
It's been a fun podcast.
It's been a little silly one.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I'm really, really excited for race 6 and beyond. I think we might have a special episode coming at you live from a different location next week.
Should we preview that a little bit? Give them a little tidbit.
I don't know what to say.
So we have a different location.
Yeah.
Could be a couple interviews. Could be a couple
rogue interviews.
Could just be a little bit different than you're seeing now.
Yeah.
Definitely one to tune in for. I think we're going to be wearing the merch. We're going to have the glasses. We're going to have all our normal stuff with us, but a little bit different type of content that we're super psyched for. But keep tuning in, keep subbing, keep liking, because we're loving this week. We're halfway through, which is crazy.
Halfway through.
We're loving every week of it.
We are. So I think we're good. You good?
We're good.
All right. We're going to roll out. We'll see you guys next either Tuesday or Wednesday. Not going to put any promises on when it's going to be yet, because there's some travel in the works. So
we're traveling.
So we will see you guys when we see you next week. Rolling out.
Rolling out.
Peace.